Welcome to the QE2 Center in London, and thank you all for coming to I think this is the third time that we're doing the Graph Connect conference in London. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Rick van Bruggen from NEO, obviously. I'm together with Holger.
Hello, Holger.
We're both running some of the field and sales organization in Europe, and really want to welcome you to the conference. I don't know if you noticed, but there's about 700 seats in this room. So this is a really, really great result from us. I don't know if the Londoners are still here, but I remember when we had like 3 people in a meetup here in London. So it's
and that's just 3.5 years ago.
That's just 3.5 years ago. So it's a great result, and it's great to see so many of you here.
So who of you was here last year? Okay, so that's a good amount of new people, which I believe is great.
Absolutely.
So for those of you who were here last year, similar thing. We all ask you to make a lot of noise about this event, and if you do, please use the Twitter handle Graph Connect for it. It would be very helpful, and we will retweet for sure as well.
Absolutely. So we have a great schedule for you guys today, right? And if you got your goodie bag, you should have a little folder like this, right? And this folder has a little bit of the schedule out here on it. You will see that there's a number of different rooms today. You're on the 3rd floor here today, right now, and this is the keynote room. Next door, there's another room, and then on the 2nd floor, there's 2 more rooms. Right, we have 4 tracks happening today. The first track is a business impact track, right? The second track is the Neo4j deep dive track, right? And those 2 tracks are here on the 3rd floor, right? Then we have 2 more tracks which are more community-driven or lightning talks, right? And they are downstairs in the 2 rooms on the 2nd floor.
So the business impact track will be in this room, and the Neo4j deep dive track is just right next door.
Right, and every time that we have a session, you know, after a couple of sessions, you will have the opportunity to talk to some of the speakers. Right, the speakers will gather outside here at the common area over there. There's a little seating area. If you want to have a chat with some of the speakers, it's a little bit more difficult for us to do Q&A in a big room like this. So please meet the speakers outside and ask questions whenever you want. Right? We also have what we call fika. Right? I don't know if you know what fika is. Those of you that have been here before may know it. It's the Swedish word for coffee. It's not the Swedish word for coffee, but it's basically the break where you can get some food and drink outside here on the 3rd floor. Right? So this is the schedule. The schedule you'll find in the little folder. Right? So there's really great topics out there about Internet of Things, about Cypher. You know, lots of really great sessions. So take a look at the folder, and you'll see the details over there. Right?
Also, after the lunch break, we'll certainly continue with the same setup of the schedule, also with some very interesting and hopefully exciting news from customers, from internally. We'll hear things about Neo4j 3.0 over the course of the day in the deep dive session and in other parts. So you're all invited to listen in to all of those.
Yep. So towards the end of the day, you know, more sessions, as you can see, and at the end of the day, we'll finish up with the keynote sessions, right?
Right. So we're pretty proud. I think a lot of you have already followed those news that the Panama Papers are also a bit driven by Neo4j, and we'll have Mark Capra here to talk about it for the closing keynote before Dr. Jim Weber. So for those of you who have been here before, I think it became a bit of a thing we always do and we want to do, a fun and great closing keynote by our chief scientist. So I hope that all of you are staying until the end. It's definitely worthwhile. before we then all have a chance to get together at a reception where you're all invited for some finger food and drinks until late.
That's the agenda. The other thing that I really want to point out to you is the lightning talks, right? So we've invited a bunch of our partners, community members, and lots of people in our ecosystem to do like really short sessions about what they're doing with Neo4j and with graph databases in general. You'll find those downstairs. It's a very nice and quick way to learn a lot of stuff about different graph technologies. So take a look at that part of the agenda for sure. It's a very, very nice setting.
And for those of you who brought very technical questions with you, we're again having our graph clinic. You all see us wearing the blue shirts, so when you have questions, ask us. This is the Neo staff. If you have really deep technical questions, please go by and visit the graph clinic. So the people with looking like doctors will help you. Please check in. We have a registration desk there to also make sure that all of you can be covered. Just stop by and discuss all your modeling questions or query questions or whatever it is. We got all the experts here of the development team, of our field engineering team, of our consulting team. So everybody is around to answer, hopefully, all your questions.
And of course, if you want to explore the schedule in a different way, then you can go to that little URL at the top, bit.ly GC schedule. It's the schedule as a graph. Since I have no social life, I make fun of these types of things, and you can explore the graph and look at the schedule in a different way as well. It should be a really fun day. At the end of the day, don't forget to wait for the Panama Papers session with Mar Cabra. It's going to be a great talk for sure.
So before we leave, there got to be a bit of fun here. So for those of you who have been at a Graph Connect, you might have followed that there's something like a book battle going on between two people in this room called Rick and Jim. And just lately there was some true London office story going on which we wanted to share where, the question is, what does a chief scientist do all day, And sometimes he does get a letter, where he wonders, what is it, And he even thinks, oh, it's from Rick, which he finds very exciting. And he finds out it's even in Japanese. Knowing that there's a book battle going on,
Yeah, well, it's really exciting. There's a little package out there from Japan. It's a book, apparently. It's from Rick. What is it? What is it? What is in the package? And then basically something happens. Right? Something happens. Is this really true? Is there a real book inside the Graph Databases book in Japanese? Well, not really. Disappointment.
Big disappointment. But there got to be some banter.
It's
not my book.
It's not his book. In my face. But I have to say that Jim did get the last word.
Of course.
Because we do have the Graph Databases book, the awesome Graph Databases book, translated in Japanese and in Chinese these days. And that's a pretty big achievement. And I'm sure I will get a lot of banter for this later on. But I wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and the book battle will continue. So obviously, we would like to get your feedback about the day. We're in an electronic world, so we're not asking you to fill out some paperwork. Please go onto that URL, or I think there's also something to scan on the little agenda with your smartphone that will help. Please vote.
Yep.
Yeah, QR code. Please vote, please give us feedback. We want to know how we can get better for next year. I'm pretty sure this is already better than last year, which was already great. So, whatever the word now is, super great this year. It will be super, super great next year with your feedback.
Yeah. Very good. So I hope you're ready for this. And without further ado, I want to introduce our Uber boss, Emil Ephraim, for the opening keynote.